My brothers and sisters, may the Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, "I've come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing. There is a baptism with which I must be baptized, and how great is my anguish until it is accomplished. Do you think that I've come to establish peace on the earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. From now on, a household of 5 will be divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. A father will be divided against his son, and a son against his father. A mother against her daughter, and a daughter against her mother. A mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law." The Gospel of the Lord. It's rare in the Gospels that they tell us sort of the emotional and human qualities that Jesus portrayed and was kind of controlled by sometimes in the course of his ministry. There's surely the moment of Gethsemane where he wants to have the cup taken away, and eventually, of course, because of the strength of grace and prayer, he accepts the will of the Father and proceeds with what he knows in his heart must be done. There's this anger with those who are selling money and coins in the temple and is kicking them out and throwing their tables out of the area. There's this weeping over the death of his friend Lazarus. And we see today another example of it as we find in Luke this call of Jesus to say that he's just filled with such anguish. He wants what has to happen to take place. He doesn't want to wait anymore. It's got to happen. And he proceeds to tell us as well that it is not the kind of response one would have expected initially. There is not peace, there's division that's happening. And surely that was the experience of the early church. And of course, Luke is again speaking to a church that's already formed and structured, that is seeing this happen day to day in its life. That as some accept the call of the gospel and become committed to Christ, there are others in turn who walk away or end up kind of fighting those that are in line with Christ. And it happened within households. And we look over the course of history, and there's consistently moments over and over again where that reappears. Surely we see that during the time of the Reformation very powerfully, where some end up going one route and some the other, and they end up kind of sending off to the authorities, their enemies, etc., those that they were not in agreement with. And all this, of course, this is saying to us realistically, the call of the gospel, the cross of the gospel, is a challenge that is not always simple to carry out. There's not always the kind of grace and harmony one would like. And so we keep praying for that unity among Christians, unity within households, and today specifically harmony among the people of God. That we end up putting aside those things that divide us and look and turn rather for those things that unite us. Today, let's be mindful of the fact how we are called in the midst of a world sometimes filled with such turmoil to be, as much as we can be, instruments of peace and bearers of a message that ultimately will lead to harmony and grace and unity if we all live by it.